Hello and welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell and I'm co-founder of Osmopreneur, Women Changing the World Press and the Women's Business School. Before we begin, I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that I live and work on, the Mamu people of North Queensland. And I'd like to pay my respects to traditional owners past, present and emerging right across Australia and the Torres Strait. Well, today we are celebrating the launch of our latest book, Ignite. And this book is an amazing book filled with tips, advice, stories, and secrets from women who are leading the way in their businesses and have created incredible businesses. Today, we're meeting a few of the authors of this book. There are 24 women who are part of Ignite, and we'll be having a chat with them, hearing about their journey and hearing about their advice that they've shared in their chapter. So I'd love to invite you to join me in welcoming our first guest today, and that is Jessamy Kingsley. Welcome, Jessamy.
Thank you so much, Peace. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you here, Jessamy. Now,
Happy
for people
International
who
Women's Day.
Yes, happy International Women's Day. So for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and the work that you do.
Thank you, Peace. So I'm the founder and managing director of Virtual Forte. So Virtual Forte is a team of virtual assistants that basically empowers or works with small to medium business owners and empowers their clients to focus strategically on those tasks or focus on their business, and take away that their precious time so they can, focus more on their business, and we can do their sort of administration, social media management, project management, and event management, basically. I started up my business a couple of years ago. I was in the corporate world for about 20 years, and my whole reason of starting my business is so that I could find flexibility and empowerment in my day-to-day role and be present for my family.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful story, Jessamy, and you talk about it in your chapter as well. Your chapter's called The Queen of the Juggle. And I love that you tell the story about where it all began for you, because you loved your work in corporate. You'd been doing it for 20 years. You were really good at it. But everything changed once you became a mother. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely. So you're right. The theme of my book is how motherhood changed me. And up until that point, as I said, I was in the corporate world for around 20 years and I was content. I was happy in that world, sort of focusing on that next sort of career progression, pay rise, etc. However, as soon as I became a mother, it sort of changed me and reignited my passion and my aspirations. And I'm sure there's so many other, whether it's mothers or fathers out there listening to this, where they're in the same boat. My story gave me a different sense of worth and purpose and redefined my priorities. And of course, amongst other things, showed me a love and tiredness that I'd never experienced before. So I wanted to be a better person, not only for me and be self fulfilled and happy within myself, but also for my family, and unlock and ignite that drive and determination, and my greatness and my hunger, basically, because I just felt like I was sort of a bit of a wildebeest in a migration. And another one of the key themes in my book, and for those who know me and who are listening, thank you, is that I am your typical Leo. I'm a Leo, and I wanted to be that lioness, even though it sounds a bit cliche, but I wanted to show that courage and determination for my family. I wanted to pave my own path. I didn't want to just be sort of going along, as I said, in the migration or be a corporate minion. I wanted to show and empower my family that, if you set your mind to things, you can make these changes, and you can also have that flexibility and empowerment in your day-to-day roles.
Yeah, I love that so much. And you talk about when you went back to corporate after having your kids, and there's an example you give, and it was a 2-hour commute to get there, and so you had to get up at 4:30 to be there early for work so that you were able to leave early to get there on time. And you paint a very vivid picture of the day when you left an important meeting and you felt guilty about leaving the meeting, but you had to get to the train to get home in time so that you could pick up your kids and have dinner with the family. and then the train was an hour late.
Yeah.
And, you know, that
Mm,
that moment of like, what am I doing? And
exactly.
the universe telling you something. Can you tell us about that moment and, you know, where it all changed for you?
Absolutely. So that was a pivotal point, and it's something I keep on coming back to all the time. So basically, I just returned to my corporate role after having my second child, and every fiber of my being did not want to go back there. I just knew. I just knew it wasn't for me. As I said, it didn't align to my inspirations and my aspirations.
Yeah.
So yes, you're right. We live about a 2 hour each way commute from the city because we moved down so
Mm.
we could have sort of better quality life, or out of the city so we could have better quality of life for our family. And I got on the train, got into the office extra early, and I remember trying to squeeze so much into my day. I remember running almost from meeting to meeting, and I didn't even have time really for a toilet break, let alone a lunch break. And
Mm.
I remember being really apologetic because I had to leave a really important meeting because I wanted to make the train in time, only to then run onto the train platform and my train was cancelled and there wasn't another one for an hour. And I still get
Mm.
emotional talking about it to this day because I just felt defeated. I remember just standing there on the train platform crying because I thought, this isn't what I want. This isn't, I want to be present for my family. I wasn't there to pick up my 1 year old son from daycare or my 4 year old daughter from preschool. And I didn't make it home to sit around the dinner table to hear about their days and to be present. So I basically, from that day onwards, I thought I needed to listen to my intuition. I needed, to trust my gut. And the universe was obviously telling me something. It was just everything that day was going against me. So I did. So that's where I took that leap of faith and I started up my virtual assistant business because I thought, look, I've got so much experience within my corporate role. So whether it was project management or event management or PMO management, and how can I leverage that experience but have a situation that suited my needs and empowered me, but also my family? Because my daughter was just starting school and I wanted to be there for the school drop offs. I wanted to be there for the school pickups. I wanted to cheer her on in her school sports and her swimming. So I also wanted to lead by example. I didn't want to
Mm.
just be doing a role that I didn't feel fulfilled in anymore. So, what I'm really happy about is that, through my virtual assistant role, is that I also empower clients. As I mentioned earlier, I can sort of free up some of their precious time so I can sort of focus on their administration activities and they can focus more strategically on their business. So, allowing or empowering them to focus more on those key activities. But since then, I've also built up a team of VAs around me, and a lot of them are mums that I've been chatting to at school drop offs or pickups, and they're like, how do you make it work? How do you
Mm.
find a job that can suit these needs and be there for the pickups and the drop offs and the sports and the activities without living with, that mum guilt where you feel
Mm.
like you're doing so many things, but you're not necessarily doing any of them really well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is so much freedom and power in being an entrepreneur and working for yourself and creating that life that works for you and for your family. And I think, you know, that looks different for everyone.
Absolutely.
But I love that you've had the courage to take that leap of faith and to go out on your own and start this business. But I know that a lot of entrepreneurs, they have the vision of more flexibility and freedom and family time and all of those things. But then when it comes to it, running a business, you could work 24 hours a day. Like, let's be honest, there's always more work to do. How do you make it work? How do you make that juggle work of balancing business and motherhood and time for yourself and everything else?
There's no easy solution. And I know that everyone who's in the same boat will obviously agree with that. And I love that you referred to the word juggle because my chapter is called Queen of the Juggle. So obviously, being a Leo, instead of Queen of the Jungle, it's Queen of the Juggle. Which even as soon as you become, even before a parent, you're juggling everything, and but more so, add in a couple of extra balls, and it's a matter of time before you feel like you're going to drop one of those important balls. So unfortunately, there's no easy answer, but I think with my starting up my own business and having that flexibility and empowerment, and also drawing clear boundaries. clear boundaries is definitely an important one, because as you said, we're always on these days, and especially with the digital world, you can work 24/7. But Queen of the Juggle, it's a matter of prioritizing things, and just making sure you keep those key important balls up in the air, and just to back yourself, just to sort of believe in yourself and make sure that you know that you're capable of doing that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jess. It's been wonderful chatting with you today. And I know that so many women out there watching will resonate with everything you've said today. And, that pressure of working in corporate and taking the leap to start your own business. For anybody out there who's watching and who is inspired by Jess, please grab a copy of the book, Ignite, and read her chapter. It's so inspiring and lots of gold in there. So thank you so much, Jess.
Thank you so much. And once again, for this whole opportunity piece and for empowering us all in telling our story. And happy International Women's Day.
Yes, happy International Women's Day. All right, well, I'd now like to welcome our next guest to the stage, Lauren French. Lauren, please join me.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Happy International Women's Day, Lauren.
You too. It's really exciting to be doing this today. And Jess was amazing. Oh my God, I cannot wait to read her chapter.
Yeah, she's incredible. So incredible. So, Lauren, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Sure. My name is Lauren. Hello. I am a mum of two, and I am the owner of Motto Fashions. So Motto was founded by my parents. We are a family business. They started back in 1985. Some crazy reason they started a business went just before I was born. And fast forward till about 17 years ago, I came into the business to start our e-com store, and it's just exploded since then. So Motto is we design for women to actually enhance their confidence through clothing. So, we hear along the way that women seem to have babies. They kind of lose their sense of style once they get there, because you're kind of like wearing comfy clothes and just running around chasing kids. And all of a sudden you get to this point where your kids are like teenagers and they don't need you anymore. So that's where we come in to provide clothing that fits, flatters. You don't have to fit into what you fit into pre-babies, because most people can't. Your body just changes, and we're here to embrace that. So that's what Motto is about.
I love that. I love that so much. So,
Yeah.
Lauren, your chapter was called No Pressure, No Diamonds. Can you tell us about the title for your chapter and what that means to you?
Yeah, sure. I think because I have been in business for 17 years, I've kind of gone through all these ebbs and flows and journeys. And I think the whole time, you think it's really hard, and you're feeling the pressure and you're stressed and you're doing all these things that every business owner goes through. But I guess in the last few years, I kind of had this moment where, everything changed just due to general business. And it was time for me to either really get down into the nitty gritty and figure out why I was here, what I was doing, and am I capable of growing the business further, or just go home, do something else. So that title came because I feel like there's probably been more pressure on myself than ever in the last few years, and it's purely come from me, no one else. But I think that whole concept has allowed me to think a little bit more strategically, and knuckle down to really create some magic. So I guess that title came from, I was able to kind of step a little bit back, start working on my business rather than in my business, which is so cliche, because I know that I never really understood that saying until I actually did it. So it comes from that.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And, there is a lot of pressure being in business. But I love the tips that you wrote about. And one of those was to surround yourself with big thinkers. Can you tell us what that means for you?
Yes. Funnily enough, that whole chapter has actually really come from when I was at Mumpreneur, Ozmum, the event. So I found mingling with like-minded people who are in similar industries to you. I find that always helps. Otherwise, it's not that relevant. Just opens your eyes to what's possible. And I guess being friendly with people who are big thinkers and who push themselves, it gives you that little kick up the butt to do it yourself, because you always think you're doing it. You literally think you're doing everything. And it just takes someone else to say something tiny that they're doing, and you go, oh my God, I haven't even been thinking about that. And what you don't realize is you kind of in your head, you almost put it in the too hard basket or the too scary basket, or I can't do it, I'm not capable, only big companies can do it, or blah, 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 whatever it is. So as I expanded my network of business women who often were in the e-com space, I just realized that normal everyday people, mums, single mums, mums with 5 children, etc., they're all doing it. Mums living remotely. Like it's not hard. You actually just have to give yourself the permission to try. And that's what aligning myself with these women has really done. It's just made me think, oh my God, I can nail this. I can totally nail this. And if I don't, I'll just try again. What's the harm?
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And every time I go to Ozmom, and I'm fortunate enough to go every year because it's our brand, just being surrounded by those incredible women, just the energy in the room, the stories that they tell, the challenges they've overcome, it motivates me to think bigger and imagine what's possible. So yeah, I love hearing about that.
100%. It's all in the perspective. It's just all, it's amazing how much your mind does really limit you. And it still is. Even when you know this, it still is. You just don't realize until you realize.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing you talked about in your chapter is about the need to keep striving to do hard things.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Sure. And that sort of comes back to the no pressure, no diamonds. I think that, like I kind of had this light bulb moment where if you keep doing what you've always done, nothing's going to change. So I've run my business by, actively trying to grow my business. I've kept doing all those little bits and pieces of changes that I've always done. Now that the output is different, do you know what I mean? Because time evolves. But essentially, I was always looking to improve my business, always trying to get anything, like getting at every single angle, running around like crazy, trying to pick up every single little thing. But because I was so busy doing those things, I was never actually allowing a whole new project to come in that could actually grow the business. It was kind of like I was in the day-to-day, always improving and always pushing and work, like hustling like crazy, but not doing the things that I thought were too hard because they would take so much time. And anyway, I'm doing all those now. They're all done. I've written the chapter. I've learned my lesson. I'm doing all those hard things now. Because your competitors aren't going to do the hard stuff because they also think it's hard. And maybe it is too hard sometimes, but if you don't try and you don't set your mind to it, you're actually never going to stand out next to your competitor, because it's hard for everyone. It's not just hard for you.
Yeah, but sometimes it's that little bit extra that takes something from ordinary to extraordinary. And
That's exactly right.
That's why we have to keep stepping out of our comfort zone and trying new things and doing things differently.
100%. Totally agree with you.
Yeah. So another interesting concept that you talked about is that you have to do everything in the early days, like even the hard things, so that as your business grows and you're able to outsource, you're across everything and you can kind of just follow your gut intuition, whether things are being done properly. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So like everyone, when they start in business, usually you've got no money, so you've got to do everything yourself. And 17 years later from when I've sort of been in that position, I really understand the importance of knowing about your money, about your cash flow, about your basic bookkeeping, about GST, like all that really boring, to me it's quite boring, all that sort of stuff you do need to know, because often something like your BAS or something that's not very sexy and glamorous is really simple to do, and it costs a lot of money when you pay someone else to do it. So learning all those little processes, even social media ads and all these things, now that we're in such a digital age, everything is at your fingertips. Save money and get that money behind your business to support it long term, because wages are often going to be your biggest expense. So you've got to learn everything, because later on, 10 years down the track, the fundamentals are still the same. And if someone could tell you it's going to take twice as long to do something, and it might for them, But if you've done it yourself, you'll really know what's important. So I just think it's such a money saver in the end. You've really got to be across all those things.
I love that advice so much. I just think it is so important to know what's happening, particularly when it comes to your finances and your numbers.
Absolutely.
Like, you
Absolutely.
just kind of delegating that and outsourcing that and never taking the time to understand what's happening with your profit and loss and the expenses.
That's right. And as you scale, you have to know. You can't get away from it. So you may as well learn while it's probably quite simple, because it just gets more complicated, especially if someone else is touching it. They don't have your mind and you don't have their mind. So you've really got to understand where things are going, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Such great advice. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is your mum. She is so beautiful and adorable. I love following her on social media. But
Oh,
you guys have a
amazing.
lot of fun together, and you do
Yeah.
live video together. Can you tell us about that strategy and why
Yes.
you started doing that?
Oh my God, that's like my favorite time of the day. So when COVID happened, we've got bricks and mortar stores. So obviously overnight, we're in Melbourne, so everything had to shut. And we thought to ourselves, A, how are we going to survive the world of business right now? Thank God we did have e-com at the time though. And B, what is going to happen to our customers? What are they going to feel? How are they going to cope being isolated? We're very, very close to our customers. So that really, it really hurt us, and we were worried about them, and not only them but also our staff, who were all of a sudden completely isolated and often not having their kids at home. So we decided just to start doing these live streams on Facebook to just show people clothes and try them on and just do mum and daughter banter, really. I mean, I don't even know what we talk about half the time. It's completely unscripted. We just go on, and 1 minute before we go, oh, hang on, what are we talking about today? So I love those moments. It's really fun, and we have so many mums and daughters that watch, because we remind them of their mum or their daughter, or they wish they could be like that with their mum or daughter. So it's so much fun. It's been such a great, amazing bonding opportunity. We were close, but now we're like so connected. It's really beautiful. It's one of my favorite times of the day. Now it's 5 days a week. Wouldn't miss it for the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it so much. Well, thank you so much for being part of this book.
Thank you. It was such an honor. I loved every minute.
And everyone, make sure you get a copy and read Lauren's chapter. There's so much wisdom and advice in there for everyone in business. So thank you so much, and happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day. See you later.
Thank you. Well, now I'd like to welcome our next guest, Dr. Olivia Ong. Please join me in welcoming her to the stage.
Hi, Peace. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Dr. Olivia. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Now, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Sure. I work as a pain physician here in Melbourne, Australia. So I work in private practice and public practice about 3 or 4 days a week. And in my other days, I'm wearing the hat of a physician entrepreneur. I am the founder of my personal brand business, the Heart-Centered Doctor, which there's 3 arms to this particular personal brand business. There is the coaching and consulting element where I help physician entrepreneurs with, coach them through, if they want to set up an online business, I coach them through that. If they want to up-level their leadership in their current private practice or public practice, I help them with that too. And then I'm also a director of an education company where I do a lot of webinars, workshops, bespoke leadership programs for healthcare leaders, hospitals, clinics. Yeah, just talking about building up resilience in overcoming burnout and things like that, which is such a big issue at the moment. And lastly, I'm also the director of a publishing company, Heart-Centered Books, where I recently published a children's book, Jojo the Kind Love, with my 7-year-old boy, son, Joseph. And yeah, we had so much time, so much fun launching the book together. And Joe is amazing on live stream. So I'm really quite impressed by his skills. I think way better than mine. But yeah. So that's in a nutshell what I do. I'm a mom of 2. Joe's my eldest, he's 7, and Jacqueline is 2.5.
Yeah, you're incredible. You are incredible, Olivia. All of the things that you do. Your story is quite incredible as well, because you Can you tell us a bit about your story for people who haven't heard
Yeah,
your journey?
sure, sure. For those who haven't heard about my journey, I had a car accident in 2008 when I was a resident doctor in a public hospital, and I was rendered a paraplegic. And the impact, resulted in me being paralyzed from the waist down. So it's pretty serious injury, and I had to travel to United States, in particular California, Southern California, Carlsbad, to undergo intensive rehab at a facility called Project Walk Spinal Cord Injury Recovery Center. And I did eventually walk again after 3 years of intensive rehab. But yeah, that experience gave me a lot of wisdom and learning too. And yeah, it just changed me as a person, as a doctor in general. So that's my background story, and that actually led me to this path of being a physician entrepreneur. I think if that injury didn't happen, I wouldn't be a physician entrepreneur, basically.
Yeah. Oh, it's a pretty incredible story, and the doctors told you wouldn't walk again, but you just had that determination, and it took 3 years for you to relearn to walk. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, exactly, Peace. Because nerves regenerate very slowly, like 1 millimeter, like every couple of months, very slowly. So I had this injury taught me so much patience, taught me how to slow down to speed up, things like that, which are actually the lessons that I've learned from my injury. I actually applied it in business, and it works wonderful. So I'll encourage people who are watching this, those who have encountered difficult challenges in the past, and you've learned all those, wisdom and skills and grit, they apply in business too, because it's kind of similar, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, business teaches us so much about life, and life teaches us about business as well. It's so true.
Exactly.
So I'd love to talk to you about your chapter, because your chapter talked about the 5 keys to freedom that you've discovered. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, no. So this is a very interesting. This is based on my observations, because in medical school, or even in postgraduate training, us doctors were never taught how to do business, how to even set up a business, how to run a business. So when I started this, I guess my personal brand business, I think way back in December 2020, if I recall, it was a steep learning curve, and me being so new to all this, and people who are starting their business might unfortunately come across things like that. The online marketing space is very noisy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all these people like bro marketers, and I know that's just one category. There's a lot of different type of marketers, saying different things, promising different results. Unfortunately, I fell into that trap of going, signing up for courses, doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, as a few months into my business, I had a severe episode of burnout, which led to being very ill for a couple of months, actually, knocked me back. But I realized that the skills that I've learned, for my spinal cord injury, and in my journey to becoming certified as a coach, I could apply those same principles in business, because as you said, Peace, business is a personal development journey. And I cannot emphasize enough, business strategy, vision, tactics, marketing, sales, they're just one category. The other category is the inner work. That's the how do you overcome money mindset issues, imposter mindset issues? How do you achieve life mastery? These are actually the fundamentals of business. Yeah, yes, business strategy and tactics, yes, it's very important and all that. But I felt that last couple of years, I'm starting to find that I have to keep going back to do all this inner work to just keep going with the entrepreneurial journey. So that's how the 5 keys to freedom are the 5 tools I'm using still at the moment in order to thrive in my business and in my personal life as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. And I 100% agree. It's important to know how to do the sales and the marketing and the finances, but that inner work and trusting yourself and becoming more confident and that self-belief is really important as well. So you talk about the 5 elements, and I'd love to just go through each of them, but let's talk about investing in your self-care. Why is investing in our self-care so important as entrepreneurs?
Absolutely, because I guess in my work as a doctor, we unfortunately we our burnout rates are high, and it's for obvious reasons. We put everyone else first, and we are always
Yeah.
last. And same thing, not just doctors, entrepreneurs. I realize that we do similar things. So our families come first, then our business. Maybe some people out here, multiple businesses, and then you're kind of the last, isn't it? Because you have to service the clients and all that. And if you put yourself last, the cup is totally empty. I mean, it's cliche, but it's empty when there's no fuel in the tank, no the batteries run out. You can't, you're not going to be helpful for yourself and for others. So
Mhm.
self-care is one of those things. It's a buzzword, but in the book chapter I broke it down to, because I like to compartment, like break down, chunk down things. And self-care
Yeah.
is not just bubble baths. I think it's more than that. It's we need to give it the acknowledgement it deserves. And everyone does self-care very differently. That's why I broke it down to 7 categories, which is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, workplace, and relationships. So people have different self-care strategies. So I broke it down so that some people might identify certain strategies and they adopt it. Yeah, because we're all so different. We can't just have a standard bubble bath facial massage. Some of us may not be facial massage bubble bath people.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love that you've broken it down into the different areas, because often we focus on one thing,
Mhm.
but actually there's a whole range of different things that we can do to invest in our self-care. So
Yeah.
the next thing you talked about was the importance of having a growth mindset. Can you talk to us about what a growth mindset is, and how we can cultivate a growth mindset? A growth mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is my biggest challenge piece in the early part of setting up my personal brand business. I didn't realize that I was still carrying a fixed mindset, meaning, I'm always like going, oh, I'm such a failure. This business is not even getting any traction. What's the point? I'm just going to burn it down. That's a common, burn it down. And then I'm just going to go back to be a doctor and forget about my passion. And, I mean, doctoring is still my passion, but, like the personal brand business is also a big passion of mine. But I had to learn to self-coach myself. And growth mindset, it means that it's not that fixed mindset where you're in the victim mode all the time. It's more like, okay, I failed this time round. What kind of learnings and wisdom can I get from all these failures? And apparently, like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and all these people and many other entrepreneurs out there, they fail so many times. So yeah, and then I think for them it's like, okay, like we'll just move on and like work on it. And that's growth mindset. It's that ability to have like a beginner's mindset, going, let's start afresh. How can we learn from our mistakes, and then now let's move forward, and things like that. So that's a growth mindset. It's being open and being open to new ideas, suggestions and strategies, and also have this sense of curiosity, like let's find out why, like rather than fixed mindsets that just stuck in that vicious cycle of overwhelm. But if you have that sense of curiosity, that really is very, very handy in running a business, because every day there's always something that pops up. Right today, like the hard drive on my computer was like it just like fell apart, and I was like, okay, I gotta ask for help now, and I gotta call Dell, the support people for my PC, and I did all the IT stuff that I thought I'll never do, but I did it. So stuff like that, and I wasn't stressed. I was actually going, I'm curious. I needed to work before the launch festival interview.
Yeah.
I was like,
Stressful, but
yeah, exactly. So it's just having that. It just makes you feel a sense of inner peace when you
yeah.
feel that. I feel.
Yeah, awesome. Then your next tip is talking about emotional mastery. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, yeah, this one was my big challenge, because I'm a very highly emotional person, and that's okay. Well. And there's two not so healthy ways of coping with emotions, which I think all of you can identify one or the other. One way of coping with unpleasant emotions, that's like anger, resentment, shame, guilt, and all that. One's first strategy is to like block or numb yourself. Like some of us do a bit more online shopping. Some of us do a bit more like overeat, like eating, emotional eating, and various other strategies, various other ways, of course. Like, some people drink more alcohol and things like that. So that's the thing about doing behavior like that, like blocking. When you unblock, it comes back 100% stronger, and then you just feel like you feel a bit, you just feel like you just can't get a handle of it, and then you just get consumed by your emotions. And the second way of coping with unpleasant emotions, as I stated just then, will be to actually get drowned in it. And we have these days where so many crappy things have happened throughout the day, and then you're just like getting drowned in this sense of like sea of hopelessness and helplessness, and you're like, what do I do? How do I even get out of this? And in business, no matter which stage of business, you always find yourself in that, whether it's the starting phase, scaling phase, growing phase, and all that. You find yourself in that kind of moment. And I guess the way to manage our emotions a bit better, or emotional mastery, will be to actually acknowledge its presence, being aware that it's there, giving it a label, and then accepting it is like, oh, I've got anger in me. Like, that's kind of labeling and accepting. And then appreciation. Like that's a strange one. The last stage, appreciating the emotion. Yes, it could be shame, guilt, anger, whichever it is. And every emotion that's there in your body, wherever you feel it, is there to give you wisdom and learnings. That's how I see it. And when this particular self-coaching technique, which I taught myself and my clients too, of course, and was such a revelation, and it changed so much of our emotional states throughout the day. And my clients have all like raved about it, going, "Oh my goodness, Olivia, no, I'm not, angry anymore in clinic," and things like that. So it works if you. The last stage of you have to go from awareness, acceptance to appreciation. Appreciation is the hardest stage because how can you appreciate shame? Like how? But Brene Brown obviously is beautiful storyteller and talks about a lot about that. But I think she definitely has nailed the appreciation bit of shame for sure.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I read Brene Brown's latest book as well, Atlas of the Heart, where she goes in and defines each of the different labels that we have for emotion, because there's anger, but then there's all different layers to it. And I think understanding our emotions and understanding why we feel the way we feel is a really important part of emotional mastery. Because if you just label your emotion as sadness, when actually there's so much more behind it, if you can get clear on what that is, then you can work through that and accept it. So it's so interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the next thing you talk about is exploring inspiring conversations. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely. That's not just conversations with other people, that's with yourself. And I use this particular technique in overcoming imposter voice and that different inner critic voices that we all share. And funny enough, this particular technique is used a lot it's called nonviolent communication, and it's written by Marshall Gosenberg, I think. And we use it a lot in parenting, because I went through a parenting course just to help me, get a better handle on parenting, because sometimes parenting gets really overwhelming for some of us, including me. And this particular technique was a way to get your needs voiced out to the child. And but you can use the technique for adults and yourself, so it's actually so applicable. So this is how it works, Peace. And it's when the kid dirties the floor, you go, don't. Usually we just yell at the kid and say, clean it up. That's not the way. The Marshall Gosenberg nonviolent communication way would be, hi Joe, that's the floor is rather dirty. It makes me feel really uncomfortable and tired at the moment. Are you able to please clean it? So that's the way, because you're actually expressing your needs. And the thing with us, I guess, as entrepreneurs, we don't get to do that. We just, everyone it leads to the self-care component of my chapter. Like we put everyone else first, and this nonviolent communication style of talking to ourselves helps us put our needs first too. So it's kind of a continuation of, I think they're all continuations of each other anyway, but this is a continuation of the self-care conversation we have, of just telling ourselves that, hey, we do matter. And this really helped me, show up being myself in business, because I was able to put my needs first in this manner, like talking to yourself in an inspired way, of course.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. You mentioned the inner critic before, and the voice of the inner critic is, always telling us that we're a failure and we're not good enough, and all of those kind of things. Whereas having these kind of inspiring conversations with ourselves and encouraging ourselves to try new things, or that we can do it, and those sort of things is, that's a really beautiful approach.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And then your last tip in your 5 keys to freedom is self-compassion. Can you tell us about self-compassion?
Of course, Peace. I'm a firm advocate of this particular tool, self-compassion. I spoke about it in one of the in the book chapter I wrote last year for Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy too. And this was out of the 5, this was the game changer for me too, because this particular technique allows you to be your own best friend. So what I mean by that is you back yourself, and all those 4 tools that I just talked about, they all lead to this. And I just want to talk a little bit about 3 pillars of self-compassion. Awareness is always the first stage. And clearly for this one, mindfulness and awareness is the first stage. You have to be aware that you're burning out. Let's say if you're burning out in business, you got to be aware you're burning out first. And secondly, it's connectedness. And you realize that's why I think Lauren spoke about, was it Lauren or Jesse? Yeah. Anyway, they talked about being surrounded by other people, like-minded people. The thing is, entrepreneurship is very lonely. And I felt there were times where nobody got it, and everyone thought I was going through a midlife crisis. Like, are you going to quit medicine or something? I said, no. And then, things like that. But the thing is, we're not alone. We're all in this together. We're all in this entrepreneurship journey together. And that's the second component of self-compassion. That's connectedness. We're all connected, and we're all, all written a chapter in this awesome book, Ignite. And the third pillar of self-compassion is self-kindness. This is the last stage where you learn to not be critical of yourself. You learn to be kinder to yourself. Yeah, and all roads lead to self-compassion and self-love. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for being here today and having a chat with us. And thank you for your contribution to Ignite, your chapter in here. I hope everybody grabs a copy and reads about the 5 keys to freedom, because they really are life-changing, and they've made such a big difference for you in your recovery journey, and now as an entrepreneur as well. So thank you so much, Olivia.
Yeah, no problem. Peace. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I'd love to now invite our next guest to join me on stage, Megan Harrison. Please join me in welcoming her.
Hi.
Hello, Megan. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
So, Megan, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Sure. My name is Megan Harrison. I'm mum of 2 young kids, 2 young girls. My background is in the mining industry, so I've worked in health and safety in mining for many years. And then, of course, had to go on maternity leave, and kind of thought to myself, what's going to happen next, I guess, in terms of career progression. Working on a mine site isn't really conducive when you have young children or children at all. So I went about thinking about other options. What could I do? Coinciding with that, I was finishing my degree in industrial hygiene and toxicology, and then COVID hit. And I thought, this is my time to shine. If I'm going to do something, now is the time. I guess my education, along with my experience, and then a world crisis, and everything kind of lined up for me, which was wonderful. So I started a company called SandSafe, and SandSafe is a sanitization and disinfection company. We utilize a fogging technique to ensure that we can get around all the nooks and crannies of all surfaces. And I was very fortunate enough to get the West Australian Health Department contract with all the COVID quarantine hotels, and worked a lot with them during, I guess, that 18-month period where it was chaos. And the business absolutely skyrocketed, and it was something that I certainly wasn't expecting. I had very minimal experience in doing my own thing, and I learned extremely quickly, that's for sure. And absolutely loved the ride. It was an 18 months that has set me up for life, has given me so many invaluable experiences in terms of business. And I was that excited by it that I then recently have started another company using everything I learnt from that period of time, called For My Sisters, which is an organic biodegradable period care company. I guess focusing on women in mining, but also schools and Indigenous communities and things like that to help end period poverty. So, yeah, it's been a ride, but it's been fabulous.
Oh, incredible. What an incredible story, Megan. And the title of your chapter is Be Brave Enough to Take the Plunge. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I guess I so strongly feel that everyone has ideas. Every one of my friends, every one of my family, everyone you speak of has wonderful ideas. There's no doubt about it. But there's so few people that are willing to actually do something about that. And I guess that's why entrepreneurs are unique. If everyone did it, then, the world wouldn't be the same. But I really want to encourage people to explore at least taking a couple of initial steps. Stop talking about it and start doing it, because success isn't going to come without doing anything. We all know that. I know it's hard, but you have to do it. How can you not want to at least give it a go? And I think, that's kind of what I based my chapter on, because that's exactly what I did. I went, you know what have I got to lose? I'm going to be on maternity leave for at least 12 months. Why not give it a crack? And I'm so extremely glad that I did. And I think I can certainly see a life ahead of doing my own thing, coming up with ideas, jumping in feet first and giving it a crack. And as Olivia just said, look, it's certainly not all of them are going to be as successful as SandSafe was, and I certainly recognise that, but I'll give it a hell of a crack anyway. Why not?
Oh, I love that. And I think it's so inspiring for people out there because, as you said, everyone has ideas, but it's just about having the courage to give it a try. But if you never try, then you'll never know whether it was going to be amazing or be a failure. But so many people are stuck in that fear, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure. Get out there and do it.
Yeah. At least give it a try. It's so important. So the other thing you talk about in your chapter is don't just start a business, solve a problem. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I guess, look, once again, lots of people have ideas, but I do feel like the ones that really will blow it out of the park are the ones that are solving a problem, whether it's a worldwide, problem like SandSafe solved, which was the sanitisation side of things. I was very fortunate to be able to solve that problem within the West Australian government. But on a smaller scale, I think you really need to think about things and all those wonderful ideas you have. Think about the ones that are actually going to be meaningful and solve something. In my eyes, they're the ones that will go big because they're needed. People want them. Okay. And there's lots of businesses that, fashion and all that stuff, which is amazing and solving problems for a lot of people that want to look fabulous, which I love. But yeah, try and think outside the box. Try and keep that in the back of your mind when you're kind of thinking of your ideas. What am I solving and who is it going to benefit in doing so? And I think they're the businesses that you'll see go big very quickly.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I feel like you're such a great example of that you saw a problem, the timing was right for you, you had the skills that you needed, and yeah, you were able to really successfully solve that problem. And as a result, have had huge success with that business. So yeah, congratulations. You also talk about the importance of backing yourself. Can you tell us about that?
It's just that constant self-doubt. You really, and the other ladies have spoken about it as well. When you're working by yourself and you don't have, you're not reporting to anyone, you don't have people next to you saying, wonderful job, great report writing, wonderful seminar you ran today. You've really got to do all that yourself. No one's going to do it for you. So you need to, I guess, encourage yourself, be your own biggest supporter, and find people around you that will support you as well. I think I have a bit in the book about, I have so many wild, crazy ideas, and every time I mention one to a friend or a family member, they never, ever say, stupid idea, Megan, what are you doing? They always say, righto, well, give it a crack if you think it's going to. So I surround myself with people that are going to encourage my stupid ideas, but also am willing to encourage myself, which if I'm not going to do it, no one else is. And I think that's probably the loneliest part about having your own company or being an entrepreneur, is not having that kind of support around you. So do it yourself, and that's, it comes in many different ways, but yeah, I think it's super important, and it keeps you motivated, because there are many days where I think, what am I doing? It'd be so easy. I get on Seek and Google jobs all the time. And then I think, nah, I wouldn't be able to drop the kids off. I wouldn't be able to pick them up. All of those things and that's the reason, let's be honest, why all of us are doing this, is for our quality of life and to support our kids and families and all of that thing, while still feeling like we are achieving something day to day, rather than just sitting at home waiting for the kids to come back. So yeah, super important to encourage yourself.
Yeah, I love that advice. And you're so fortunate to have people around you who are cheering you on. And I know that not everybody has that. So yeah, that's great. It's great that you have those people who are like, okay, give it a go then. So good. So good. Now, you also talked about the importance of knowing when to pivot. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yeah, so I guess my company was based on a very specific thing, which was sanitisation, disinfection for COVID-19. I knew that wasn't going to last forever. I knew I would capitalise on the situation we were in, but I knew that I had to think of strategies post-COVID, and was I going to keep the company going, and how would that look, and how will I pivot to ensure that it's still viable. So I went about doing a bit of research, and the product we use also kills mold. So I've pivoted the business now to focus more on mold. So obviously in Queensland, and also up in the mining camps in Western Australia, mold is a huge issue. And we've managed to kind of pivot away from the COVID stuff, although we are still doing that. We've pivoted away from that and into the mold side of things, which is keeping the business viable, and we'll move it forward from there. But I could have easily stopped after COVID. Absolutely. I done and dusted, did what it needed to do. But once you establish a brand, you don't want to, I guess, see that go to waste. So I guess there are a few ways I could have pivoted, whether it had been, into a commercial cleaning company or, different things. But I've decided to go down this path of mold for now, and we'll continue to look for ideas to pivot the business as different things happen around me. I know that mold's an extremely bad issue at the moment, so that's the direction I'm going to head. But I can guarantee in 12 months there'll be something else. So just ensuring that I'm kind of all over those different spaces where issues are, and what's happening in the world, what's happening in Australia, what are the conditions like, and where can this possibly fit into that, and then being willing to get cracking and make that change to the business model, I guess. So thinking about it again is one thing. We can all do that. It's taking action and actually making that move that's the hard bit.
It's so important. And I think, you've talked a lot about COVID today, but the businesses that managed to keep going through COVID and are going stronger than ever before are the ones who had to pivot and worked it out. Because we saw lots of businesses that weren't able to pivot or were afraid to pivot or didn't know how to or what to do. And then those businesses are closed now in a lot of cases. So it's such an important skill to have as an entrepreneur. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Megan, and thank you for your chapter in our new book, Ignite. I hope everybody grabs a copy and reads your chapter, because there's so much wisdom in there, and your incredible success with your business and now starting your next business as well. It's just so inspiring.
Thanks so much. Bye, guys. Bye.
Now I'd like to welcome our final guest for today, Chris Duncan. Please join me in welcoming Chris on stage.
Hi, Peace. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Chris. Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. Happy International Women's Day to you too, and to all the lovely ladies out there and all of our speakers previously. Absolutely wonderful material that they put forward in the book. So I'm really excited. I can't wait to read their chapters as well.
Yeah, they're so inspiring. So, Chris, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Thank you. I've had a really long business life in the dance and performing arts industry here in Australia. I also have a lot of international connections in that same niche as well. And my biggest business operation at the moment is running an online dance and theatre magazine called Dance Life Australia, which services the industry, and also a national dance competition called Dance Life Unite. So we grew that from the time I bought the competition back in 2012 to like it was just one competition, and now it's a national competition, and we send all of our dance champions overseas to America to engage in lots of mentoring and wonderful competition experiences over there. But my most recent operation has been to develop Dance Boss, which is both my book, which you can see behind me, and also a mentoring service for dance business owners of all walks of life. I've dabbled in lots of different businesses within the same niche in dance within Australia. And I've found over time that many people enter this industry purely because of the love of dance, but not really knowing a lot about business. So my passion is now about mentoring business owners or prospective business owners that want to develop events or develop their own industry, and to be able to employ more people within this niche. And so that's my journey with Dance Boss. I'm starting a mentoring service and just about to launch my online school. So.
Amazing. And, you've done so much for the dance industry over the years, and you're across so many different aspects of dance. It's wonderful. And as a dance mum myself, I understand, there's a lot to it, and it's a really exciting industry to be part of.
Yes, it's a wonderful industry to be part of. And I feel like that we really need to build a great community and network within our industry. There already is a lovely network, but just to sort of help build more work opportunities within this industry. Unfortunately, within Australia, there's not a lot of work for professional dancers. So many of our dancers that we train have to go overseas. So, it's my aim to sort of help contribute to the industry so that we can help build businesses within our niche to be able to create more employment opportunities for the people that love dance as much as I do.
Beautiful. So let's talk about your chapter. You talked about intuition and the importance of that as a tool in your business, which is fascinating. I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, thank you. So, well, I always trust my intuition. I always get a gut feeling about things. And I think most people do, but they may not sort of really understand why. So in my chapter, I sort of delve deep into why we get that intuitive feeling and how we can use that to really enhance every part of our business. So, I mean, each of the successful pillars of business are recognized as leadership, sales, marketing, mindset, and planning. So in my chapter, I go in deep into how we can actually delve into our own intuition, really honor that, and start to really ignite ourselves to be able to use that intuition in a really intelligent way, backed up, of course, with due diligence and research and everything else that goes with that, to really, fast track our business success journey.
Yeah, it's a powerful strategy, isn't it? I think with intuition, though, sometimes I think fear holds me back from taking steps. And I'm like, is it my intuition telling me not to do this? Or is it my fear and self-doubt telling me not to do this? And there's a subtle difference. Can you talk to us about that?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, I have absolutely experienced that myself as well. So, I mean, what my personal, thing to do with that is to actually go inside and really assess where that fear and anxiety is coming from, and really dig deep on that and really listen to the answers that my intuition is giving me, and then take action on how I then move past that. Because if we kind of get stuck with that fear there and let that be a roadblock for us, we're ultimately going to just not be able to move past that and achieve the dreams that we want to achieve. So the first thing to do is to isolate where that fear is coming from. I mean, it might be something that has happened in the past. You might have some kind of, things that are resonating with you from, something that might have happened to you previously that has stopped you in your tracks. So it's really important to get past those roadblocks by first isolating them, doing the work, going inside, doing your breath work, doing your meditation and your affirmations to really, assess that fear, see whether it's actually even a valid fear, and then use that as, a tool to then guide you in the path that will help you, get to where you want to go.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And it's true, you can feel it in your body often. And sometimes taking the time to recognize, is that fear because of something that's happened in the past? Or is it my intuition guiding me to take this step? So, yeah, taking the time to slow down and listen to your body is really important.
Absolutely. And I mean, if we don't, then we're just going to keep coming up against that same fear, or it's going to manifest in a different way. So it's really important to acknowledge, what you're feeling, what your intuition is telling you, both positive and negative, and really acknowledge that and take the steps necessary to A, find out what it's telling you, B, then move past that and take the actions to move forward.
Yeah. So the other thing that happens sometimes with your intuition, so fear can hold you back, even though you can hear your intuition telling you, to do things. But the other thing that sometimes happens is we know that our intuition is like, you probably shouldn't be working with that person. It's not going to work out. You know that. But we kind of squash our intuition and we're like, no, it's going to be fine. Can you talk to us about that, about what happens when we don't trust our intuition?
Absolutely. I mean, we all do get gut feelings, but whether we acknowledge them or we don't, generally it will just keep pounding at you. It will just keep coming back and coming back and coming back until you acknowledge it. Now, I've definitely had the experience of working with wonderful people that have, been fantastic and passionate and, really soar personalities. But I've also had the, the experience of working with people that have just, or organizations that just haven't resonated, and I've not been able to kind of put my finger on it quite why, but it's something that has been nagging me. And it's not until I'm a little bit further down the track that I've actually recognized, oh, okay, that's why. They, it may be that they don't really resonate with your ethics or your morals or, the way you like to do your business, etc. So I've learned over time to really really put those feelers out first instead of finding out down the track that that person or that organization may not resonate with your own personal set of values or your culture that you've developed within your business. So, what I've done in that sense now is I meditate on, a person or an organization that, may present to me to collaborate with, and really get a sense of whether it feels right. If it does, yes, I'll go forward, and I'll keep my feelers out, but I'll definitely go forward. If it doesn't feel right, I'll just assess it for a little while, and then, usually make the decision to, very respectfully say, thank you very much, but I don't think this is going to work out for us. It's just, unfortunately, when you don't listen to those little nagging thoughts, it doesn't end well. So you might find that person or that organization is dragging your energy. And that's something that I think we all need to really take notice of. If something is draining your energy, then that's where you really need to, assess it, decide whether that's something that you or someone that you need to let go within your organization.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Chris. And you can read Chris's chapter here in this book, Ignite. She talks all about intuition and really how to make the most of it and use it as a tool for your business. It's so valuable. Well, thank you so much for being here, Chris. And thank you to all of our authors who joined us today, and everybody who's joined us live, and everyone watching the recording. Thank you for being here. You can order copies of Ignite. We have them ready to go from the Osmompreneur website, and you'll find the link in the comments. Well, this concludes our session today, but we have events happening right throughout March till the end of March, with workshops, authors reading chapters, author interviews, and lots of events happening, as well as 2 in-person launches, one in Sydney coming up and one in Melbourne as well. So please join us in celebrating our new book, Ignite, and thank you all for being here. Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.